Hi guys, in today's session we're going to be looking at particle effects. Particle effects are often used in games, films, motion graphics. It's a useful technique when creating things like smoke and fire, atmospheric effects like fog, mist, snow, rain. There's many other uses for particle systems. We're going to be creating some simple particles that you could use as snow or dust. So, to begin with, we're going to create a new composition. We're going to make sure it's set to 1080p, 25 frames per second, full resolution, square pixels, and we're going to hit OK. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to the timeline, and we're going to right click, and we're going to click New. We're going to go to Solid. What a solid is, it's simply basically a black solid image which will form our background. We're going to click OK. Looks like nothing's happened, but we've created a new layer, a black layer. This is what we're going to put our particles on. We're going to go to Effects next, and we're just going to type in particle. There's actually several systems that you can use. I'm going to use Particle World as I know it's available on all versions of After Effects. There are third-party plugins that you can use, like Trapcode Particular. That does come at a cost, but it's really good. We're just going to use Particle World. We're going to drag that onto our layer. So first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to go to Guides and Grids, and we're going to get rid of the grid and these other bits as they're a little bit distracting. So by default, if I play through it by hitting the spacebar, this is just what the default particles look like, but you can make them look any way you want. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to Particles, and I'm going to change the colour. I want a kind of bluey, greeny sort of colour. So that's the birth colour. As you can see, the death colour is where the particle fades away. I'm going to make that sort of a dark blue. Yeah, maybe I'll actually make that more green. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to change the particle type from line to maybe faded. And I'm going to bring the birth size down, and we're going to bring the death size down, and I'm going to go to this. This is the emitter, so this is where your particles are emitting from. And I'm actually just going to stretch this out so that it covers the whole canvas, and I'm also going to pull it down here as well. That's quite cool. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to try and add a bit more depth to the particles. So if I go to Producer, you can change the position, but one thing you can do is you can change the radius. I'm going to change the radius in the Z axis, and that is going to add a lot more depth. I'm going to change the longevity, so how long the particles last. I'm going to change that to 5. And you can see how this could easily become rain or snow. I want my pixels to look a bit lighter, so not so heavy, like they're gliding down. So I'm going to go to Physics. And I think actually it would look quite cool if it was a negative gravity. You often see snow and dust sort of flying upwards because they're so light. So we're going to change this to actually a negative gravity. I'm going to put some resistance going the other way, and that's going to slow them down a bit. Maybe I might go for a bit higher. A bit more. Now you can change the way the animation is working. At the moment it's on explosive, but there's all sorts of other ones. I really like this one. It feels very natural. There's also ones like vortex, it's pretty cool. Fire. Jet sideways, that one's pretty cool. I'm going to put it on twirling, so I think that's cool, very cool. Right. Particle. I'm actually going to change the size, so I'm going to make it a little bit larger. The side a little bit smaller. There we go. Turn the opacity up, that's how transparent they are. You can make them very faded. You can bring them up. I'm going to change the angle a little bit. There's so many different attributes and effects that you can try out here. There's something called the inherent velocity, and I'm going to turn this right up. So that's basically, some of them will be moving a lot faster than others, and I think that adds a very dynamic, natural feel. So I'm actually nearly done now. This is looking pretty good. The particles are spawning a little bit too high, so I'm going to, in the producer, I'm going to position it a bit. I'm going to try and position it so there. That looks about right. That looks cool. Now there's one more thing that I'm going to add, and that is motion blur. That's going to make it feel a lot more natural. If the particles that are moving fastest are a little bit blurred with the motion. And the way you add motion blur in After Effects is you, first of all, you've got to enable motion blur in the comp by clicking this. And then in the layer here. And that effect is quite subtle. If I zoom in, you might be able to see it better. There's just a slight movement blur. And you can change that if you go to composition settings. You can change how subtle you want that. So if you go to advanced, I'm actually going to turn it up a bit more. So you just turn the shutter angle up, and you'll end up something that looks a bit better. This is how many samples it's taking. So if you've got too many samples, that could really slow your composition down, but it will look more realistic. I actually don't think I need as many as this, so I'm going to turn it down to about 8. It's actually alright. There, and you can see that they're stretched out a little bit as they move. I'm quite happy with that. I'm going to leave it there. Try and have a go, explore all the options and things that you can do with particles. There are so many things that you can do, so perhaps have a think about how this could impact your animation. I'm going to leave it there. Take care, guys.